Hello everybody, today we are going to have our first lesson for revision. It's about the gerunds and the infinitives. It's a grammar lesson. I think you have dealt with it before. Let's start. Gerunds. We form gerunds with verb and the ing ending. We can use it as a noun. For example, when we add to the verb swim the ing, it's going to be swimming. Can you see these words, swimming? We begin the sentence with it. Swimming is my favorite hobby. You can see here that swimming is a noun, not a verb. The other example, Ben likes cycling. So, cycling here is a gerund. It followed the verb likes. Ben likes cycling. Like we can say, Ben likes apple and the apples. So, cycling here act the same like the word apple. So, it is a noun. Also, we can use the gerunds after prepositions. Look at the next sentence. You can see Jenny is only 5, but she is good at reading. Look at this. You can see reading preceded with preposition at. At reading. Here, reading is a noun. Another usage. After the verb go, we can use the gerunds after the verb go. When we talk about activities, for example, my class are going canoeing. Canoeing here is an activity. It is the verb canoe ending with ing, so we form the word canoeing. Another time, my class are going canoeing at the weekend. We also use the gerunds after these certain verbs and phrases. Look at them. These verbs, you have to study them well. It begins with the verb admit, avoid, be used to, can't stand, can't help at first, deny, etc. Okay, let's see the examples. Some students are having difficulty doing their math exercises. Can you see? Are having difficulty doing. Here, gerund comes after these, where this phrase are having difficulty. The next example, it's no good only studying. Studying here the gerund comes after it's no good. The example says it's no good only studying for tests. You won't get good grades. Now let's move to the infinitives. We have two kinds of the infinitives: full infinitives and pair infinitives. We form the full infinitive by using to plus the verb. For example, to look up, to do some exercise, etc. Look at our usages for these kind of verbs. The first one is to explain purpose. To explain a purpose. This example is going to clear the meaning. They went to the library to look up information. So we have a reason to go to the library to look up information for their project. The next one, after adjectives such as afraid, scared, happy, glad, sad, etc. Let's take the example to clear the meaning. Jenny was so happy to pass her exams. So you have here the adjective happy followed by full infinitive, to pass her exam. The last usage is after the words to and enough. Do you remember to and enough? Let's see the example. It was too late to change his mind about his studies. Okay, can you feel the meaning? The first two here, it's mean very. It is very late. The other two, it comes to complete the full infinitive, to change his mind about his studies. Other example, his grades weren't good enough. This example is for enough. His grades weren't good enough for him to go to university. So it's not enough to go. And also we are going to study the following verbs, and we use after them, you have to use after them the full infinitive. Afford, agree, allow, appear, arrange, ask, begin, etc. You have to study them, my dear, by heart. Let's see our example. The teacher offered to give the weak students some extra help with math. Offered to give. Here we have the verb offered, and you're going to study them, the verb offer, with the verbs which I said you have to study them. The last form of infinitives we have to take today is the per infinitive. Per infinitives is the base of the verb. We use it after the modals. For example, you should ask your teacher for advice on your studies. Should here is a modal verb, and all of you know the modal verbs, and we are going to deal with them after, if God wills. You should ask your teacher for advice on your studies. Next, we are going to use the per infinitive after had better. Had better to give. We use had better to give advice, also like should. For example, you'd better be careful when you go mountain climbing. Okay? Let's see the third usage for the per infinitive. After would rather. Would rather is to talk about would rather talk about preference. We often use the word than. For example, I'd rather stay at home than go out tonight. Here, we prefer to stay at home than going out tonight. So, this is our lesson, and let's have some exercises. Look at this exercise and start to answer with me, please, my students. He decided selling, sell, to sell, sold his flat. What do you think? We have here the verb decided, and we have studied that decide is one of the verbs. We should follow it by the pair or full infinitive. I think full infinitive. So the answer is going to be he decided to sell his flat. Okay, let's move to the other example. Would you mind? Lend. To lend. Lending. Well, lend me your camera. What do you think? We have studied that would you mind followed by gerund. So the answer is going to be lending. Would you mind lending me your camera? Okay, think about the next. The tourists enjoyed, visited, visit, to visit, visiting the places of interest in Egypt. Let's think. We have the verb enjoyed, and we have studied that enjoyed followed by visiting. The gerund visiting. Okay. Fancy. Fancy to meet. Meeting. Meet. Met the president. What do you think, my dear? I think that fancy followed by meeting. Fancy meeting. Okay, that's enough for today, my dear students, and you have to study your lesson and do the rest of this exercise. So we are going to meet as soon as possible. Thank you.